Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is Indriya, the faculty which simply means power base. This is a series. We have already had 2 or 3 discourses on this subject and will continue. Today we will go further than what we have already discussed. Now I will give you an example of what is meant by faculty. Faculty is to be seen in 2 ways. One, as a collective power base, and the other as an individual power base. Now, you see, all over the world today, the universities, colleges and so on, they have what is called faculty members or faculties. That means a college has so many professors, so many teachers, so many lecturers and so on, and knowledge is power. And these individuals, they are each one an expert in a particular subject, a teacher in a particular subject, represents knowledge as power. So they form a faculty, a collective base, power base, and they, you see, educate the students. Knowledge is power. They transmit their power into the student. They distribute their powers, so to say, knowledge power, and they share that with the students. So here faculty as a collective power base, where all put together, you see, form a college of power base. That is a collective, a group, people who represents the power that is being distributed or transmitted. So this is an example. Now at the individual level also, you have got a similar situation. Now individually, for instance, every human being has got 22 indriyas or faculties, and each faculty is a power base. I have already discussed, you see, about the physical power bases that we have got, 5 of them, and then there is the mental power base, which is the all-powerful power base, and then there are the mixed mind-body nama-rupa power bases. Then further, there are a power base consisting of feelings, emotions and sensations, how they form, you see, a power base. Then there are those spiritual factors which ultimately decides or governs life. That is the Dhamma niyama, and how that becomes the power base, the spiritual factors. Then there are further, even higher than that. There are you see, the transformational, those bases or those faculties representing the transformation of mind from the mundane level to the supermundane level. So these power bases ultimately, you see, they represent the state of enlightenment. So this is how there are 22 faculties or power bases, and they govern life in different ways, in various spheres, and life is ultimately governed by these indriyas. Indriya, I have already defined. Indriya means, the indra sabhava kamma, the action of a ruler, Indra. That means the controlling power, the power that controls life, and at different levels and at different spheres. Now the five physical power faculties that govern our life. That is the five sense faculties. Chakhu, sota, ghana, jivha, kaya. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. These five bases, these five faculties are real power bases. They are of primal importance indeed for life to function in the way that it should, in a positive way, or the otherwise, the negative way. And the importance of that, all of you have heard already. Now, for instance, a person who has got eyes but he can't see. He looks like a normal man, but he can't see at all. Now he is handicapped by his lack of sight. He is a blind person. So life is very, very different between a blind person and a sighted person. Similarly, the other faculties, if we go through, and each faculty therefore governs actually. They are controlling powers. They control life totally. This is purely at the physical level. Here again, let me give you another example. How mind and body works together. So though these physical faculties are very, very important, they are of primal importance in fact, but even then, they themselves cannot function alone, unless there is the other aspect, the mind, which is the most important, most vital of all indriyas or faculties. Mind-body combination, how they function and make life what it is, either very meaningful or very meaningless. So for life to be meaningful, we have to understand these faculties. The example I was talking about is that, let us say, Sarathi, Buddha is supposed to be Sattha Devamanusana, Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarathi, the incomparable Sarathi, guide, or literally it means a charioteer. Now, or those days, in the olden days, they have caravans. Caravan leader was known as a Sarathi. In the olden days, in the time of the Buddha, there are many great, very, very rich, wealthy caravan leaders who had become the king's treasurers. Now they own 500 or 1,000 or several thousand, carts, bullock carts or horse or ratha, chariot, etc. These people carried merchandise from India to different foreign countries, both in the west and east. And then while returning, they will bring merchandise from other countries and sell them here. So these merchant caravan leaders were very, very powerful individuals. They governed the economy of the country. And they were therefore respected highly, and they were called Sreshti, the most important people. Sreshta, Sreshti, the very preeminent people. And now the caravan leader is the head of a group of merchants. Let us say there are 30, 40, say 500 caravan means 500 merchants, each one owning a particular caravan. Modern, in terms of modern, we have these trucks. So there are merchants or people who are dealing with these trucks. They are carrying things from one part of India to the other. Hundreds and thousands of trucks they own. And these truck drivers, you see, they carry the merchandise. And the merchant who owns that particular truck, he will go with the driver and under the guidance of caravan leader or that, you see, the truck leaders. So these people sell things, they go from place to place and all that. Now, a Buddha is supposed to be a spiritual caravan leader, having attained to the very height, to the summit state of spiritual perfection. The Buddha is the teacher both of gods and men. And that is how he is an incomparable caravan leader, or you call him a pilot from one country to the other, or you see, a truck caravan leader. So he guides, his whole the function is to guide merchants carrying merchandise from place to place, or resting places, or how they should behave, how collectively they will organize themselves in their venture of selling and buying, and all that sort of thing. The whole thing, he sort of guides, he governs. Now, an indriya can be viewed in that way, in a particular sphere. At the physical level, these 5 indriyas are of absolutely primal importance, that all of you know. And if we don't have a handle on them, how we can make our lives a miserable life indeed, meaningless life indeed. But if we know how to handle these faculties, sensory faculties, sense faculties, then how we can make our lives really meaningful. One of the great problems of a spiritual seeker, a sadhaka, is how to control the mind, how to control the feelings, the emotions, how to control our intellectual abilities, intellectual faculties, or whatever. Controlling something that represents power. So an indriya is a power which has the capacity to control. That is the definition of indriya. So if we have a, let us say, we see an object with the eyes, and first of all we become aware of the object. So in this awareness we have the consciousness, the mind working, and the mind sees, the action of seeing, mind in the form of seeing, and then seeing what? A visible object. And then the eye has got the sensitivity by which we can see and the object. So 3 things, the seeing, the sensitivity of the eye, as well as the object. These 3 things, when they meet together, that is called you see, sparsha or first so mental, it's an sense impression. Now this sense impression simultaneously, as it occurs, simultaneously it brings about a certain feeling or a certain sensation. Now the feeling is either that object that you see, you immediately feel that it is a pleasant one or unpleasant or a painful. It brings a certain feeling. If it is an unpleasant sight, then you have a unpleasant feeling and sensation. And if it is a pleasant one, you have a very pleasant feeling. And based on this pleasant feeling or the otherwise, you see, you like it, therefore you crave for it. And when you crave it, you want to gratify, you want to enjoy it. Because you like it, it is pleasant. So and then out of this, when you say that it is a pleasant object and you recognize it, you sort of, from memory, you perceive it to be something worthwhile, desirable, and then a whole chain of thinking, associated thinking begins to operate. So this thinking leads to craving. And what you crave, that you cling to. You become attached to what you crave. And as soon as this attachment, bhava, begins to function, the process of, you see, karma formation, karma formation also starts. You commit an action, a volitional action in the form of craving. Say, craving is kilesa, kilesa varta, and so also attachment. And then it brings about bhava, which means actual involvement in activity, in volitional activity. So what you crave and then you are attached to, that involves you in a process of becoming in the form of acting, a manokamma, a mentally committed action. Now this manokamma can again get translated into kaya karma or vachi karma, bodily action or verbal action. So the karmic process, with its potency to create a result, now has come into existence. First of all, it's like laying a deposit of karma in the psyche, in the mind. Now, as soon as you have performed this mental action, you have deposited a karmic energy, so to say, a karmic force into your psyche, into your world of mind. And the actual faculty which is the carrier of that is known as jivitindriya. The faculty, life faculty, or that vital faculty, you see, which determines our longevity or short life or various, all kinds of happiness and misery and all kinds of experiences that we have to meet in future, all that is determined by this karma. So you perform a karma, which simply means you have created your future existence. So where that karma is going to produce a result, that has been already formed by performing this action. So within our psyche, within our mind, we have innumerable karmic forces. You see, they are all accumulated karmas which have not yet produced a result and which are awaiting to produce a result in future. So this karma that you have committed, the Tibetan Tanka gives a very good example of that. A woman is in the motherly way. She is carrying a baby. but the baby is not visible. Say, first of all, it may be a few days old baby or a few weeks old baby, then few months old baby. So the only way you can see that the baby is there is the size of the mother's tummy. The bigger the tummy, it means the child is growing bigger. Then there is the process of parturition. That means the child comes out as a human being. So he is born in a particular plane, let us say in the human plane. So his karmic, involvement in the past, the karmas that he had performed, has now actually, it has given a result in the form of rebirth in the human plane. And having become a human being, now he is subject to all the laws pertaining to the human sphere of existence. So he grows and then he becomes a young person, middle-aged person, old person and so on. Having become a human being, he starts accumulating karmas, fresh new karmas once again. Why? Because he has got all these faculties as a human being. So these faculties, he sees thing again, and then he likes a thing or he doesn't like or is neutral about it. So his feelings very much affect his mind and his activities. Mental activity, which gets translated into bodily and verbal activities. So this is how the story of samsara. Life after life after life, one keeps on coming and going. Being born, you again begin to accumulate karmas, and then at the end of life, these accumulated karmas, give rise to, they show in the form of rebirth in the next life. So now, the 5 indriyas I have told already, the physical indriyas, they perform in their own spheres. Each one is a sphere, is a world of existence, so to say, and packed with power. The power to live and to enjoy or to suffer, in a particular plane of existence, according to the karmas performed. So these indriyas are governing, but they are the power which control life, these 5 physical indriyas. And then the mind also as a indriya controls life. So both together they function in the manner of a caravan leader and all the other merchants as well as the whole caravan setup. You can use the same analogy, for instance, between a boat and a boatman. The boatman is like the mind. The boat is the body. It is the boatman who takes the boat to different places, he plies it, and he can't go to different places unless he has a boat, and the boat cannot move unless the boatman is there. So they are interdependent in that way. This is how mind and body works. Now there are indriyas which are also playing very, very vital role in the form of, let us say, gender. Ithi indriya purisa indriya. Now, if that child who is born, I gave the example that the person is now born as a human being. So that human being is either, or that little baby is either a male baby or a female baby. Though both are human beings, all right, but they are very, very different species altogether. Their gender determines their future course of living, their course of life, their course of actions, their whole role. Ultimately, life is what? If you go deeply inside you and ask yourself, well, what is all this living business? My dear, life is a big drama. Plain and simple drama. And we are all playing different roles in the stage of life. The drama has a beginning, the drama has an end. And in between there are many, many scenes, and these scenes depict all kinds of, let us say, of a particular character, depict all kinds of activities, achievements, accomplishments, killing, saving, all kinds of the whole life process. So, this drama is played out, first of all, as a man or as a woman. Very big drama indeed, these two. The gender drama. And now it has become even more complicated and acute because of the so-called, the idea of gender equality and whatnot. So last time we mentioned gender equality is possible. It is not an impossibility. It is possible, as Lord Buddha himself, gave that equality. Now, in the time of the Buddha, a woman was supposed to be 28 times inferior. The Manu Samhita, I don't know how they have come to this particular figure, 28 times inferior to men. And therefore they cannot become a saint or this, that, nothing. Lord Buddha completely rejected this. He said, both can become saints, both can become arhat. The woman had complete freedom. They played their role. Men, freedom, they played their role. So, the freedom, equality, pertains to what role you play. And the opportunity to be free, the opportunity to be equal. So it all pertains to equal opportunity and nothing more, nothing less. But if you try to compare an equality body to body, you make a terrible mess and it just doesn't work. You can't be equal. Your genders are different. Your roles are different. Your karmic, the whole thing different. So equality is with reference to opportunities to evolve, to become a liberated being, or a being who is again who gets caught in samsaric bondage more and more and more. So now this gender faculty therefore is of very vital importance. Even a man knows how he should behave as a man, as a, dignified, honorable person, man. Then his life can be very wonderful. And similarly a woman, if she knows her role as a mother, as a home builder, as who gives life to the children, and the children's lives depend entirely on the mothers, the way mother has brought up the children. And her role, and how mother and father put together, they combine their faculties, they combine their abilities, their everything, and live a very decent, moral, ethical life, and which is spiritually evolving, and bring about a society which is very, very meaningful. But when this gender thing becomes topsy-turvy and gets mixed up with politics and all kinds of, sensuality and all that, then the whole society collapses. Now you have got this unnatural sort of sex relationships, creating so much havoc, diseases that we have never heard before. That is why Lord Buddha said in the Panchashila, he gave 5 principles as universally valid principles, which if human beings undertake voluntarily to guide their lives, life can become most wonderful indeed. A human being can evolve as a God, as a divine being. 5 principles, Panchashila enables them to evolve into the consciousness, into a state of consciousness equal to that of a divine being, here and now. So, these gender, you see, faculties are indeed very important. Just as the 5 physical faculties and the mind faculty, then the gender faculty. Then comes even more important, Jivitindriya. It is the Jivitindriya which plays out or works out what is called the Katatta karma. We have within us, we have committed karmas in past lives, hundreds, thousands, and those karmas are lying there in the form of a potency inside, awaiting to produce a result. And so those stored activities or accumulated activities which have not yet given, which have not yet produced a result, they are, being worked out through this faculty of Jivitindriya. So, for instance, as we mentioned before, Jivitindriya decides how long you are going to live. Your Ayu is decided by that. Ayu, Vanna, Sukhang, Balang. These 4 things. How long you live, how short you live, how happily you live, how unhappily you live, how ugly you look, how beautiful you look, how radiant you are, or the otherwise. All these things are the working out of the faculty of Jivitindriya. Sukham, your happiness. Ultimately, happiness is not just feeling, it is much more than feeling. It is the equanimity, spiritual equilibrium that is brought about by a mode of living or by a process of development of the consciousness through jhana. So this tatra madhyattata, the equanimity, equilibrium that brings about inside, that decides what happiness is. Lord Buddha one day was sleeping in a forest. He spent most of his time in the forest areas only. He had collected a whole heap of leaves, and then on that he put his robe and he slept. And this was bitter, bitter North Indian cold. So early in the morning he sits up and he was in meditation, as usual. Now the king of that particular principality, he had the habit of walking first thing in the morning walk early in the morning. So he passed through that little vana, that grove, and he found Buddha sitting there under a tree, and just on a robe, and sitting on this pile of dried leaves. And he was so much moved, and he said, my goodness, here is a person who could have been an emperor, renounced his life in order that he may find the secret of liberation, enlightenment, for all of us to be freed from the bondage of samsara. And here he is sleeping on a heap of dry leaves, immersed in meditation. One who has discovered the ultimate reality, the ultimate solution by which one can be liberated from all dukkha, from all forms of suffering that worldly existence brings about. So he went and bowed down at the feet, and the Buddha was, of course, he had emerged already. He was watching him, and he said, "Bhante, did you have a good sleep?" "Oh yes, Tathagatas always have good sleep, my dear. Don't worry about it." Now how can that be? Sitting on this pile of leaves and in this bitter cold, and whole night you have spent like this? He said, "Look here, what kind of bed you have?" Then he described the bed of a king's bed. Very luxurious, my goodness, in Pali the description is fantastic. He says, "Now you have a bed like that, don't you?" He said, "Yes, Bhagavan, I do have. And you have all these pleasures around you, and all these people who are to warm you up in your bed. Now, suppose you begin to think something, and you are not, say, a thought rooted in lust. In that very luxurious bed and smooth and warm and all that sort of thing, will you have sleep, good sleep?" He said, "No, Bhante, I know." Or if you are tired, if you are thinking about some political situation, or your armies are now fighting somewhere, or you also begin to you think of hating, you see, hateful thoughts in your mind about the enemy. Do you get a good sleep? You know, Bhante. Like that, number of, instances Bhagavan gave. So he said, "Look here, the Tathagata, the truth finder, discoverer of ultimate reality, has no such wrong thoughts, my dear. The mind is totally cleansed, totally transformed. Tathagatas have no worry. Nothing to worry. Therefore the Tathagata sleep. He slept only twice or 2 hours anyway. So, sleeps always very well, very happily, and so on." Now these are just instances we are giving you how a transformed faculty of the Tathagata can bear all the, all the tribulations of the world and yet remain unaffected mentally, because he has transcended all that. So these faculties, they enable us not only to control everything in us and around us, but also to become transformed. Today, with this I conclude. Next time I will talk about feelings as a controlling power, as a controlling faculty. With this I conclude. May you all be happy. May the blessings of Bhagavan Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and well-being. Sukhino bhavantu.